Hello everyone, welcome to Neural Data. I am Aditya and today I will be discussing our next topic in statistics and probability. For any query regarding data science, kindly visit our website www.neuraldata.info. Today we will cover random variable and its different types. So let's get started. So what is this random variable? What's the definition of that? So in simple word, I would be defining it as random variable is a variable whose possible values are the outcomes of any random phenomenon. So consider one phenomenon of tossing a coin. So in that case, either you can get a head or you can get a tail. So there are two possible outcomes of that phenomenon. Random variable is different from our traditional variable that you have to keep in your mind. We can say this random variable is actually a function which performs the mapping of the outcome of a random process to a numerical values. Consider for these two coins, one times I got head, one times I got tail. So I can say for head I would take 1 and for tail I would take 0 as a numerical value. So we map this head and tail to these numerical values. In simple words, I would say like it is a function which performs the mapping of the outcomes of a random process to a numerical value. It's not like any traditional algebraic variable that we take. So why do we need random variable then? This question must be hitting your mind, right? So random variable is important because it is a feature or attribute we come across often in relational database tables. If you have worked with SQL or something like that, you may have encountered some column of age, gender, or something like that. So those columns, those variables are nothing but this random variable only. So if we have to work in data driven domain, we need to have a clear understanding of what kind of feature, attribute, variable we are dealing with. If we know about all those attributes properly, then we can easily do analysis, we can easily get the insights out of that. So it's very important. That's why we need to learn in depth about this random variable. Let me clarify this topic by taking some examples related to a random variable and its practical uses. So consider we have a coin here and it has some diagram like this, and this diagram corresponds to head and the other side tail is blank. This is what I'm considering for a coin right now. Okay, now we will flip this coin 5 times. Okay, so I would be considering 3 circumstances for this flipping. First is, what is the probability of getting exactly 3 heads? So probability of getting exactly 3 heads, this is how we denote a random variable. So what's the probability for this? And the second query that I have is probability of getting less than 4 hits. So what's the probability of getting less than 4 hits? And the third query I have is probability of getting more than 1 hit. So these are 3 queries I have, and I can denote or I can write it as this way. So one of the possible outcomes could be either a head or a tail, right? So here we use x to denote a random variable which represents the outcome of this random process. Therefore, I can say I can arbitrarily put value x is equal to 1 if the outcome is head. Okay, and x is equal to 0 if outcome is tail. So this is how we represent. Here the random variable x is mapping the outcomes of the random process, that is flipping the coin to a numerical values 1 and 0. So this is how we are mapping our random variable for this random process of flipping a coin. And here we have taken this 1 and 0 for our understanding. We can here take 50 also, and this 100 also. We can take 2 also, 4 also, or we can take anything. This is only for the representation purpose. X is our random variable. We'll take 2 possible values, 0 and 1. This corresponds to tail and this corresponds to head, right? So this x is nothing but a random variable. This 0 and 1 is possible values, right? Only two possible values we have, and this tail and head are random event. Like you can see, this is how we have mapped this random event to the random variable. Now the important question that must be coming across your mind is how a random variable is different from the traditional variable that we use in algebra, right? So here we denote the random variable with capital X, right? And in algebra we used to denote our variable with a small case x. So this is the difference. So one question that must be coming across your mind is how a random variable is different from our traditional variable that we use in algebra. So I will clarify this. So let's say we have a variable x, y, z that we use in algebra. So here x represents the number of cell phone. Arbitrarily I am taking. Y represents number of heads, and Z represents number of students. So here a variable is nothing but an alphabetical character which represents an unknown number. Here Z is representing a number of students. Let's school we have 5,000 students. So here Z takes the value of 5,000, right? Similarly, the number of heads that we get in flipping a coin or number of cell phone in a city, those values will be getting assigned to this X alphabetical character. Now, I would be taking one simple equation to make you understand what is this variable. Consider in algebra we have this equation x plus 5 is equal to 10. So here x would be 10 minus 5 is equal to 5, right? So here x is the value whose value is unknown and we are trying to find its value, right? So after evaluation we get this value as 5. Now if I have to summarize the difference between random variable and algebraic variable, I would say a random variable has a whole set of values and it can take any of these values randomly. Also, the probability is associated with each value, but for the variables used in algebra, it cannot have more than a single value at a time. So this x cannot have more than one value. At this point of time, it will be having only one value, that is 5. But if I take the case of a random variable here, you can say it can take two values, this is 0 and 1, and both these values have a 50% of chance of getting selected. Or another example I can say, like we have a set of values like 0, 1, 2, 3. Then x could be 0, 1 or 3 randomly, where each of them might have a different probability. So consider 0 has a probability of 0.2, 1 has probability of 0.3, this has probability of 0.1 and this has probability of 0.4. So 0.4 is nothing but a 40% chance and 0.2 is 20% chance. So consider we have some event where we have got this 4 possible outcome. So from this we interpret that this outcome 3 has a higher probability of getting selected as an outcome for this random variable x as compared to this 0, because it has only 20% chance of getting selected. So this is how random variable works as in probability, and this is how a typical algebraic variable works, only taking only one value. Now I will discuss the types of random variable. Till now we have seen the definition part and difference between random variable and algebraic variable. Now we will see the types. So there are two types of random variable. First one is discrete random variable and second one is continuous random variable, and we will see the definition and some examples of these two subcategories one by one. So first one would be discrete random variable. A discrete random variable is the one which takes only a countable number of distinct values such as 0, 1, 2, 3 and so on. Discrete random variables are usually consts. If a random variable can take only a finite number of distinct values, then it must be discrete. Now I would take one example to make you understand this. Consider in an experiment of tossing two coins. So we have two coins. Then we need to find out the possible number of heads. So if we are flipping this first coin, we will get head or tail, right? And for the second coin also we may get head or tail. So in this case x is, like I will take x as a random variable. So in this case x is a random variable and the possible values taken y, this would be either 0, either 1 or 2, which is discrete in nature. Consider I am flipping this and first coin and getting tails, right? So in this case we have got 0 head, and again if we are tossing the second coin also we have got tail. So again in this case we have got no heads. So here this corresponds to condition 1. Now we will take the second condition. Here we have flipped the coin and we have got one head, so this is 1, and here in second we have got tails again, so no head again. So in this case one head at least we have got, so this is what it corresponds. Consider in third case we have flipped this coin and here also we have got heads and here also we have got heads, so in both we have got heads. So this is condition 3 and this is condition 2. So this is how a random variable is taking 3 possible outcomes as its value. Now I would give you some real-time example of random variable. Some of these are like the number of children in a family, or the Friday night attendee in a cinema, or the number of patients in a doctor's surgery, or the number of defective light bulbs in a box of 10. So any kind of example I can say, or the number of students in a class. These are all discrete random variable examples. Now I would discuss about probability distribution. The separate topic of probability will be coming up in the next session, but little bit of insight I would like to give because it is related to random variable only. So the probability distribution of a discrete random variable is a list of probabilities associated with each of the possible values. It is also sometimes called as the probability function or the probability mass function. Suppose a random variable x may take k different values, with the probability that x is equal to xi is having probability of pi, okay, and I is for different number of outcomes for this random variable. The probabilities pi must satisfy these 2 points that I am going to mention right now. It should be in between 0 and 1. This is the first condition. For each I is the outcomes that a random variable may take. This is the first, and this is the second condition is p1 plus p2 plus p3 up to pk is equal to 1. So probability of each and every I, so probability of each and every outcomes for any random variable is 1. So I told you, like for flipping this coin you may get head or you may get tail. So this has got 50% of chance, this also has got 50% of chance, and if you add these two then you will get 1. So this is the condition for a discrete random variable. Now I would go in little bit depth. Suppose a variable x, random variable x, can take the values 1, 2, 3 and 4, and the probability associated with it is like outcome I am taking as 1, 2, 3, 4, and probability is 0.1, 0.3, 0.4 and 0.2. I have taken a similar kind of example above also, but here we will see in depth how it works. So the probability that x is equal to 2 or 3, these 2 or 3 is equal to the sum of the probabilities of these two outcome. So here probability of 2 is 0.3 and probability of 3 is 0.4. So either I can get 3 or 4 would be the sum of these two probability, that is 0.7. So I can write it in very mannered way, like p is equal to x is equal to 2 or x is equal to 3 is equal to p of x is equal to 2 plus p of x is equal to 3, that is 0.3 plus 0.4, that is 0.7. Similarly, the probability that x is greater than 1 or equal to 1 is equal to, so probability of x greater than 1 or equal to 1 is 1 minus probability of x is equal to 1, that is 1 minus 0.1 is equal to 0.9. So there is a 90% chance that outcome will be 2, 3 or 4. Means apart from 1, we will be getting other outcomes. So this is a probability distribution for the example that we have taken above. Now I will show you how it works. Now about this cumulative distribution, we can see that the probability of x less than or equal to 1 is 0.1. From this graph we can see, and the probability that x is less than or equal to 2 is, for this 2 we can see we have to add this 0.3 and we have to add this also 0.1, so it will be 0.1 plus 0.3 is equal to 0.4. So the probability that the x random variable is less than or equal to 3, for this 3 outcome we have to add this one and this one. So probability that x is less than or equal to 3 is, we have to add 0.1 plus 0.3 for this 2 outcome and 0.4 for this 3 outcome, so it will be 0.8. And the probability that x is less than or equal to 4 means this whole part. So if we add all these we will get 1. I will show you how. 0.1 plus 0.3 plus 0.4 plus 0.2, and if you add this 0.6, 0.9, we are getting 1 as an output, that is 100%. Now we will move with our second subcategory of random variable, that is continuous random variable. A continuous random variable is the one which takes an infinite number of possible values within an interval. Continuous random variables are usually measurements. Now, I will take one example to make you understand all this. Suppose we have a data of temperature in a city that is ranging from 30 degree to 45 degree centigrade. Okay. That temperature can take any value in the interval of this 30 degree to 45 degree. So the temperature can either be 30.13 or it can be 40.15 degree, or it may be 30.26 or something. Now when we say temperature is 38 degree, it means it lies somewhere between 37.5 and 38.5. Right, it is in middle of these two values. So there is nothing exact or discrete observations in continuous random variable. Some of the examples would be like height, weight, amount of sugar, in an orange or banana, anything you can take, and time required to run a mile. So this time also comes under this continuous random variable. So I would say a continuous random variable is not defined at a specific values. Instead, it is defined over an interval of values, and it is represented by the area under a curve. The probability of observing any single value is 0. So if I say x is equal to 31 degree, it means probability of this will be 0, because the number of values which may be assumed by the random variable is infinite. Because I have taken the example between 30 degree and 45 degree, right? So between 30 and 31 also you can see 30.01 or 30.0001. So infinite number 30.00 up to n and again 1, or 30.010 again 001. So we can have an infinite number of points in between only 30 and 31. So consider for this 30 and 45 we have a lot of data. So for this infinite number of points, number of total points we have, so out of this infinite number of points, if I have to calculate the probability for this only 1 point, so 1 out of this infinite is almost equivalent to 0. So this is why we are taking this probability that exact 31 we will be getting is 0, because we have so many points in between. Suppose a random variable x may take all the values over an interval of a real number, okay? Then the probability that this x is in the set of outcome A, this probability is the set of outcome A, is defined to be the area above A and under the curve. And the curve which represents this function p of x must satisfy the 2 points that I am going to tell you right now. The curve should not be having any negative values. So the p of x should always be greater than 1 for all x. Okay. And the second thing is the total area under the curve should be equal to 1. So total area under the curve should be equal to 1. And I would explaining all these things in a bit later. So here we got to know that the area under the curve is an important point, right? So now we will see some of the properties of this curve. Now I will talk about properties of a continuous probability distribution curve. So the curve is called as probability density function. Probability density function. We use symbol fx to represent the curve, okay? And this fx is the function that corresponds to the graph, and we use the density function fx to draw the graph of the probability distribution. Area under the curve is given by a different function called as cumulative distribution function, that is CDF, okay? And this CDF is used to evaluate probability as area. Now there are few points that you have to remember, like the outcomes are measured, not counted, because this is not a discrete random variable, right? So you have to measure this area, not calculate. And the entire area under the curve and above the axis is equal to 1. So this entire area, if I have to consider, this will be equal to 1. So the first point is we have to measure to get the probability. Second point is area under the curve would be equal to 1. Third point, probability is found for interval of x rather than the exact value of x, okay? So consider here this is 2, this is 3, and if I have to find the probability of getting these 2 and 3 outcome, then we have to consider the area between these 2 and these 3, means this part. So whatever area we get would be the probability of getting these 2 outcomes, okay? Fourth point, I will show you with example. Consider we have graph like this. This is C point, this is D point. So the probability of any value lying between this C and D would be the area under the curve as what I have told you, and it should be above x-axis and it would be under this curve, right? And with this lower limit you have to go towards right, and with this maximum limit, that is d, we have to go towards left. So this is how you calculate the area under the curve. Now fifth point, probability at any given point. Consider x is equal to c would be 0, or probability of x is equal to d would be 0, because in continuous data we have to take the interval. If we are going for a single data, single value, it will be 0, because there will not be any area. Consider this c point here. So how will you calculate the area? There is no width here, no length here, so this is only a point, and the area of any point is 0. So this is how we get probability as 0, because there is no area for this. This is it for this session today. I hope you have enjoyed and learned something new. If you think this video is useful in disseminating knowledge and spreading awareness about this particular domain, then kindly like and share this video. And yes, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thank you. Stay safe, stay blessed.